Our plan for today. We'll discuss 5 principles how to work with vocabulary. During the webinar, you will get tasks from me in order for you to create vocabulary tasks according to those principles. And at the end of the webinar, there is a little surprise. So stay up to the end and you will know what this surprise is. I guess that now we can start. And so let's do it. First of all, think about you. How often do you teach vocabulary? Why do you teach it? Maybe at what stages of the lesson do you usually teach vocabulary? Do you do it every lesson, or maybe you have special lessons for teaching vocabulary only? Welcome. Write some your ideas. We can call it a little warm-up just to dive into the topic and discuss this more. If you were attentive, there were a special chat on the registration link, and you can fill in it with some information you know about teaching vocabulary. You can do it right now. You can take your own piece of paper and note what you know about teaching vocabulary, what you want to know about teaching vocabulary, and maybe at the end of the webinar, what insights you got. So I have some comments from you. I'm eager to read them. Every lesson, it depends on the group level. Every lesson to know more. Why? For what do your learners need vocabulary? Of course, to know the words, right? To be able to speak on different topics. Sometimes they may need vocabulary to understand the text better or to understand listening better. They may know some new words in order to complete an essay or to write any writing task. Revise every lesson. So every lesson that is when we teach the vocabulary, and actually right, that is one of the most important part. It's very difficult to speak if you can't if you don't know the words. We teach vocabulary for communication, for understanding, for writing. Every lesson we try to learn new words, and every lesson we revise and practice them to make students able to speak and understand English. Natalia wrote to us. Thank you very much. Now, from us, let's switch to our learners. Let's think about your learners and new vocabulary. And let's compare it to our L1. What's the difference in understanding, in studying new words in L1 and L2 or a foreign language? I learned vocabulary all my life. Yeah, that's true. There are really lots of words. Personally, I like to teach vocabulary in a communicative manner, visualize the words. I also ask my students to imagine these words and use them in their own sentences. Personalized approach. Of course, every lesson we revise the vocabulary. Vladislava wrote to us. Thank you for sharing your ideas. That's really a valuable contribution to our today's topic. So what's the difference? Think about your learners. And again, you can add this information to the chart, to this column, what you know, or maybe what you want to know. The topic of the webinar is called Words in Mind. So we will focus mostly on the problem how our learners are able to keep all these words in mind, and what can we do as teachers to help our learners use this vocabulary, memorize this vocabulary, and be able to speak with the various words, even if we long time ago. If to talk about experience, compared to L1, our learners now have some experience. They know about the world, they have some knowledge, they have their own points of view. They are not those 1-year-old babies, toddlers who can, who just take the words like a sponge, right? They have their own picture of the world, and they can use it. It can even help them understand the words better. They know much more about the world than they used to be when they studied their first language. How they accept the words. Again, what's the difference? When you are a 1-year-old toddler, can you read? Can you understand anything? You just accept words using your ears. When you go to school, when you go to university, when you start studying a new language, you often accept the words visually, right? Not just audibly. And very often teachers do that. They show the words, so they remember the word form, not just the word itself. That's the main differences from L1. Actually, what does it mean to know a word? Can you share your ideas? Knowing a word means. When, at what stage I can say that I know this or that word, or you understand that, okay, now my students know the words and we can move further. I've got some answers. To imagine the picture in the mind when you see a word written or hear it. Understand and use the words. So they understand what the word means and they can use the word. That's right. Actually, when we talk about this topic, we can say that we know the word. It sounds really useful and it sounds probably not useful, easy, right, for us. But if to look at this process, when we know the word, we know its spelling, how it is pronounced, how it is written. What else? They use in different ways. To understand the meaning, Vladislava wrote to us, to understand the meaning, what concept the word denotes, and when to use this word. It depends on the competencies both of the teacher and the learner. To know a word means to understand and use it without long thinking. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. I welcome more teachers to talk, to join us. So yes, you are right. When we know the word, we know its what class. Is it a noun? Is it a verb? We need it in order to build the correct sentences, to use the words where they are supposed to be. Of course, we need to know its meaning. Moreover, there could be some references to synonyms and collocations. Not just the words itself, but we can know that, for example, boiling means something close to hot, yeah? Or we can say make mistakes, not any other collocation. Let's look now at this word, moving. What can you say now about this word? What it means, maybe moving. What from the points on your left, what characteristics, what you can say me about this word? Part of speech. Yeah. Just 1 second. Yeah, now it's correct. It's an adjective, yeah. Part of speech, touching, from meaning, gerund. Action. What about the meaning? How can you explain in your own words what it means, moving? Synonym, touching, Vladislava wrote, thank you. Popular. Thank you very much, Maria, you wrote to us. It depends on the context. Yes, that was my point. We can see the spelling. We can see that we don't have E, right? We have it dropped. We can understand how to pronounce it. We probably understand what parts of speech it is. But when it comes to the meaning and to synonyms and collocations, it's very difficult to understand without knowing the context. What about now? Does it help? Should be the context. That's right. Going from one place to another. Yeah, so it could be that, it could be touching, right? But without the context, it's really difficult to know the word. That refers to what you wrote to me, that you teach the words using communicative approach. You ask your students make examples. That really helps to understand how the word works, its position in the structure, in the vocabulary structure. Again, out from this sentence, now we can understand that it's really probably it's adjective. However, it could be a verb as well, like present past continuous. It was really moving. Of course, the words really help us to look at the correct direction. So now it was really moving. I was in tears by the end. And now finally we have the context that help us really understand and see the word. That is my point, that when you study the word, it's not just the word itself. And for our students to know the word, it doesn't mean only to know its translation. It's being able to use these words to understand what parts of speech it is. If we talk about textbook that is called Outcomes, it has great vocabulary builder online. You can use it together with your student book. You use the same password that you have for students' resources. What you and your students can find there, they can find like a word profile, definitions of the word, examples of the word, even some words that like that from word have a family. So moving here is adjective, yeah, and the word family is move. His speech really moved me. Again, it's not that that meaning that we know from this elementary level. Okay, thank you very much for all your comments. So out from this, our principle 1, to help our students know about words better, is to use a context to teach the words. In this case, for them it will be much easier to understand how these words should be used. They see very clear examples and they can use these examples and then make their own using what they see. Now your turn. About the context, look at these sentences. Read them very quickly and decide what topic they are about. Describing events, describing cinemas, or describing holidays. I got some answers. Cultural activities, thanks. Free time. Yeah, you have some options on the left if you have double doubts. Entertainment. That's right. Describing an event. Yeah, so we use all these words in order to describe the events. We will work together with this set of words and create different activities in order to help our students understand what the words mean and really know them. By knowing, I can repeat, by knowing we mean not just understand the meaning of words, but understand how it is used, what word family it is, what collocation synonyms it has. What are the ways to introduce the words? Let's imagine the word cheer. How would you introduce this word to your students? It's a place where we can sit, show cheer in a class, a thing, flashcard, picture, drawing, in the context, or just with a picture, really. Video, picture, vocabulary list on the board, show to each. Yeah, that's right. Why I chose this word? Sometimes we are told that we use explanations in order to understand, to tell what the word means. But for some words, it's much easier just to point, or show a picture, just because when you use some explanations, the words in the explanation could be more complicated than the word itself. So when you think about introducing the words, think about the best way to how you can introduce the word. You can use explanations, you can use drawing. There are even the books that teach teachers to draw pictures while explaining something. You can point, you can use examples, you can use the context, or you can ask questions. That is a great method that you can use with more complicated words. When you need your students to understand the slight differences, for example, between hot and boiling, you can ask them. When it is boiling, do you want to drink maybe more than when it is just hot outside? Yeah, something like that. Or what does a thermometer show when it is boiling? More or less than when it's just hot. So you help your students with the questions, and for them, they will include not only their usual way of perception, like ears probably, yeah, but you will combine with their visual, then with their mental activity. So by this, they will remember the words much better. They will have very bright pictures of each word if you show the best way to choose them correctly. So the principle number 2, use different ways to convey meaning. For example, here the book used the context, right? So we have these words, we have the context, and our students now need to put them correctly in the gaps and understand what the words mean, or maybe check their understanding. Another way, with the words that almost known for our students, but they can have some difficulties. Maybe you just want to focus on something. You use some engaging exercises, like find what they have in common. For example, a thriller, classic, a documentary, and a comedy. Actually, what they have in common. Mm-hmm. You use the words to name the film genres, yeah, like you wrote to me. And you can see that not all words are really simple. You need to really discuss it. You need to dig deeper, to look more at these words. By this, your students will be more active and they will remember the words much better, just because they were working with them really for a long time. Okay. For example, number 4, soundtrack, special effects, photography, plot. What do words in this group have in common? Group number 4. Let's puzzle our brain a bit and find out something. Larissa wrote to us that the best way is to introduce new words in context and give them plenty of chances to practice. That's right, we will talk about it today, or as well about practice. And I'm waiting for your interesting explanations, interesting observation, what the words in group number 4 have in common. It's very easy to find probably an odd word, but to find what it has in common, not such an easy task. And by the way, to my mind, there is no correct answer. Anything that can be explained and it sounds logical here may count, just because it really helps students to build their individual connections with the words. They refer to a play or a film. Yeah. What about photography? Why do you think photography is here? The parts of the shooting process. Filmmaking process. Thank you very much. I'll wait for some more answers and we'll move forward. Just really interesting. How does photography connect with all these words? Making video, yeah, art, film. Thank you. Yeah, to my mind, they are talking about visual arts, yeah, like visual arts of making movie, of taking photos. Yeah, you can have special effects when you take a photo, probably, right? Photo can take plot as well as a film. Show. Okay, thank you very much. So while discussing different variants, different options, your students will be exposed to the words more often than just showing them. That's why it's very useful from time to time to create exercises like this, or to use ready-made exercises which were already done for you from the great textbooks. Now your turn. We were talking about introducing words in with different options. For example, explanations, pictures, asking questions, giving synonyms, drawings, right? Choose 5 words from these that are in bold and think how you would explain them to your students. You don't need to write me all 5 words, maybe one. The most interesting option will be great, but take your time, think a little bit. Let's just practice. If you usually only explain words, or maybe only translate words, or maybe use pictures, now it's time to try something new. Maybe you will like it. We started our webinar from the word moving. Yeah, you gave me some examples. Now try to find another word that you think your students may need to understand before doing next tasks. Give the synonyms, miming, giving the explanations, etc. Yeah, that's right. But let's be a bit more specific. For which word would you use which one? Weird, something unusual, strange. Bizarre, yeah. Peculiar. You can even expand your students' vocabulary by doing this. Synonyms. So most of you write synonyms. Let's try this technique, asking questions. Choose a word, for example, any word, and think how, with the help of the questions, you can help your students understand the word better. In different texts, yeah, you can use some context and include the word there. That's right. What it means, the form, how is it pronounced, how is it spelled. Yeah, you can ask these questions to your students. Let's practice asking questions about the meaning. For example, if we talk about moving, when you watch a moving film, do you laugh a lot? No, you don't. Yeah. Can you cry? Probably yes. Do you cry because it's a very sad movie? Yeah. Not obviously. Yeah. And by doing this, you help your students to understand the word a lot. Vladislava wrote to us about moving as well. I'll explain it in the context, bringing my own example in the sentence. When in the film you see that the main heroes finally kissed and you feel much warm emotions, as such warm emotions, you are happy about the main heroes. It means moving. There is no any tickets left. Could you buy tickets? Oh, thanks. Yeah. Could you buy tickets now? Were the tickets for this before? Yeah. Thank you very much. Natalia helped us with the questions. Great job. So this is a really great technique, and I like it very much. It helps students to analyze, to be into the lesson, to stay more focused. These are some ideas, yeah, from me. Again, story. You can create a story and include all the sentences, all the words, and even you don't need to name the words. You can just elicit them from your students. Okay, now let's play a little game. All you need to do now is to write to me the first word that comes to your mind. Are you ready? The first word is food. Write your associations. Pizza. Great. Food, pizza. Well done. What else? A lot of people write to me pizza. That's interesting. Sweet, delicious, holiday. World, probably. Okay, next. Black. Oh, borscht. Black. Color, night. Dress. Super. Leather. Night again. Square. Good. Night. Okay, the most elegant. Great. Very interesting associations we have today. Usually people write white, but why not? Yeah. Green. What are your associations for the word green? Tree, grass, grass again. White, so maybe for black. Eco-friendly. Dress, grass. Green, eco-friendly, I like it. Be frightened. Spring, leaves, plants. Wonderful. I like your associations. They are very warm. Good. Next one. January. Grass, kiwi. Yeah. So the first word comes to your mind when you see the word, or hear the word January. Holidays. New Year. Winter. Christmas. Thanks. Snow. Wonderful. Frost and tangerines. My birthday. Okay, for lots of your association, I have a bit different slide, but what my point was now, to show that words don't live separately in our minds. Usually they are connected in some semantic nets, and they, when you hear one word, you immediately can think of something different. We need to know and to remember this when we help our students to produce speech, to speak more. Yeah. So what connections can the words have? Some semantic relationship, antonymy, synonymy, collocation, like green grass, for example. Yeah. Black dress. Yeah, January, it's a winter, it's something semantic. Subordination, again, color, food, borscht or pizza, yeah, so the food and around the food, lots of names of the food. And when we when we know this, we can use it. How? Before we ask our students to prepare the speech to make, or maybe writing, it's a great idea to prepare these word nets, word mind maps on the board. Write, play with this association, connect it to the topic of the question or of the lesson. By this, you will help your students to recall more and more words, and they will have this habit of using different words. They will hear one person's association and they will come up with their own immediately. It really helps, a great support, and by doing this we help students not just to accept the words, but also to use the words, to produce the words, not to produce sentences with new words. That's why my advice to use these games, to play these games very often with your students. Yeah, and here is a quote from one of my favorite methodological book, Vocabulary Matrix, Understanding, Learning, Teaching, from Cengage Learning, that words are not stored in isolation. Storage and retrieval of words in mind is heavily influenced by word semantic relations. That's why we can't imagine words in our mind just like a separate words that stay on the shelves. This is a system, yeah? And when we talk on one topic, one system like turns on and we start to remember more and more words on that. When we switch off, for example, now we are talking on some methodological things, about some methodological things, and we want, so lots of these words are in our head. But if I switch and we start talking about plans for holidays or maybe politics, for some minutes it would be a bit more complicated to come up with great words. We will use just some basic. That's why we really need to help our students to build these wide word webs. I mentioned one way is to create mind maps, something like that. And so we come to our third principle, use word relations. Again, for example, for this book, what are the ideas here? First of all, you need to put the words, it's for pre-intermediate level students, so you need to put the words in the gaps. You can discard the words that you don't understand, you can use the context, right? So now you have the words. It's not enough. Actually, now look at this exercise. Now this exercise helps to build these word sets. Yeah, what phrases are connected to campsite? What phrases, what words are connected to apartment, to a hostel, to a hotel? What sentences will you use? So this helps to build this structure, and when students go abroad and they stay at a hostel, they will remember it. They are more likely to remember the words and phrases that we use. So it's very important to make these words organized in our students' mind. Another activity, again, we help students to expand their vocabulary, to use their knowledge, to learn from each other. Can you think of 2 other things you can share in a hostel, 2 other kinds of room in a hotel, and so on and so forth? So we help students to categorize the new words and also to add to the words something. They can ask from you maybe some words and you will expand their vocabulary. They can teach each other. These exercises really help to enrich the vocabulary, active vocabulary, not just remember and memorize it. Here is an idea from Larissa. My students adopt playing the association games, illustration, mime, antonyms, definitions, translation. Ask students to classify a group of words into different categories. Yeah, that's right. And that is a very good creativity exercise when you ask your students to find connections between two words that are not connected at the first sight, right? So now you chose 5 words, you wrote at your notes how you would explain them, what questions you will ask, what context will you use. And now let's think, what can we do in order to expand our students' word net? Right? So based on what we have just studied about these connections, about these semantic relations, what can be done in order to help your students understand more and know more about the word, remember more words on the topic, make some connections and categories in their mind. Let's look at my example, and together with it, I'm waiting for some of your contents. For example, here we have the word overrated. It's not a bad film, but I thought it was a bit overrated. What else can be overrated? Yeah, that is the first. Overrated film, maybe overrated singer, overrated song, overrated product, right? So we help to find more collocations with the word. Again, you can ask students, which will you use to describe your feelings, which you will use to describe the place where you are. A book can be overrated, yeah. Food, restaurant, yeah. So that's what we as teachers can do in order to help our students use words, not just study them and forget. Work with them, teach them, ask them questions for them to be more active. Let's move on. What makes practice effective? If we're talking about teaching collocations, that it's more helpful, more effective for students to remember not just words individually, but how it collocates with other words, we need to practice also collocations, not just the words. So help them memorize or match, different words to create a collocation and then to use it into the sentence, right? That is one of the examples. And again, you help your students use it in the context and together with other words. Another way to practice is find out which word does not normally collocate with the keyword. It's really interesting, and it can be given for homework. Your students can do some research. You can teach them and explain them that there are some sites. If you use Outcomes, second edition, there is actually a vocabulary builder that gives all this information so they can use it. If you use another book, you can just explain that on the internet there are sites, there are some dictionaries for collocations. So do this exercise and use search the information. Find maybe examples, not just cross out the word, but also find examples from the internet or maybe from the book where these collocations are used. Again, they will remember them and they will have no other idea to use some other word than just the correct collocation. Of course, the higher level is the more complicated collocations are. But if we talk about, for example, pre-intermediate, oh, I'm sorry, what just happened? Okay, if we talk about pre-intermediate students, that is all right. Then activities like sentence matching. There can be different types of matching sentence. First is like here. We have one statement and how it is continued, right? Or it could be a statement and then a response to it, or question and answer to it. This helps to add more useful vocabulary, to focus on communication purpose. We are talking that we don't study words just for studying to remember in the long list of words. We talk about the need of communicative aim, of communicative purpose. And when your students see the real examples of a good statement, they will be more likely to, again, to use them and to remember them as a whole set, not just as a separate word. What can you do? What interesting activities you can do with that? For example, here we need to match sentences together with following up questions. And what can be done after that? Any ideas how we can practice it? So the first task was make the sentences with the follow-up questions. Check you understand the words involved in the sentence. Here, where teacher can help explain or other students can help understand the words, you can ask questions, you can refer to the context. What can be done to help our students remember this, not just the word, but how it works all together? Any ideas for follow-up exercises? Making up dialogues using these words. Yeah, the same context, the same situation. Yeah, in dialogues. Giving extra example sentences to the students if they're unsure and encourage them to write the words in example sentence. Yeah, that's right. Practice before the task. Sure. Make your dialogue. Yes, that's right. And let's have a look. And it really helps, yeah, to add this personalization. But what else? Look here. Just spend a few minutes memorizing the questions in exercise 2, then work in pairs. Say sentence from exercise 2, student B, say the follow-up question. Yeah, so we practice this whole set. They will remember not just the word, but the whole expression, yeah, made from 2 sentences. Role play, yeah, with 1 sentence. Yeah, role play them. Sure. Match in pairs. Yeah, so you say different sentences and ask different students. Then they can test each other in pair. They will pronounce it. They will not just use 1 word. They will use the whole phrase in their communicative situation. And after that, they can prepare their own ideas. Why you need this? Just because these type of questions and statements are very typical when we live abroad, and you don't have to invent something new. You just need to try to use them in your real life situations. You can describe a situation, and then your students will use this question and statement and answer in order to complete the situation, to develop the situation. We can organize a competition on the longest story with them. Wonderful. Yes, I like it very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for all your contribution. You really helped me to to give you even more then we can. So you give really valuable suggestions. Play games such as Symphony Toss, Word Wheel. Yeah, so they need to like a game that points to some of the statement, and then your students need to respond. Yeah, sure, that's great for online teaching, by the way. Storytelling, that's really useful. That's right. And again, what the book suggests to follow here is to memorize in the sentences as they are. Your pre-intermediate students will get a lot if they just remember the sentence itself, not just the word noise outside. They will remember the whole phrase. There's a lot of noise outside outside our room. Yeah, they will remember it. They will use it. Yeah, could you change rooms? Yeah, for example. That's all. That's all they need when they go down and want to talk to a person who helped them at the hotel. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for all your ideas. And after that, here now you have work with a new partner, choose 4 problems from exercise 2, and role play the conversations, take turns to be guests and the receptionist. There is a lot of noise outside our room. Could we change rooms? And now now let's respond. You can, but I'm afraid the only rooms available are more expensive. Again, they use some words from the exercise. So really great communicative situations that your students can face maybe even tomorrow or when the borders will be open again. Question and answer. So here, before that, we have this one statement and then follow-up question to that statement. Here, we have questions and what I like here, 2 possible answers. That's really interesting because it's not just one question, one answer as usual. They need to analyze more sentences and to find different ways to respond to the same question. Again, it helps students to sound more interesting, to be more engaged, and then they will be more confident in their own strength, and they will be more likely to feel free when they speak outside the classroom, I mean. So here, for example, for number 1, what's on in town at the moment? Can you find 2 possible answers? Some wrote J, and that's right. What about the second answer? Can you find it? J, there's the new film by Swedish director Lucas Moodysson. Yeah, and B, Johnny Depp and Morgan Freeman. Doesn't it go for number 5? E. So it's not very typical. It's a collection of historical objects from Central America. So what's on? It's not just about, I guess that is the answer for next question. What kind of exhibition is it? Some more of your guesses? One. See, not much really. There is a musical on the theater that might be okay. Thank you very much, Ludmila, for your correct answers. So really interesting exercise and really interesting ways to respond to what's on at the moment. Yeah, not much really. Again, very useful phrase, or there's a new film by somebody. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for all your answers. After that, your students may use all the questions and prepare different answers about, for example, the first situation, this movie from Moodysson, and use the new language. And even more, think of one more possible answer for each of the questions in exercise 3. Yeah, so try to use new language, not just new words, but also some interesting expressions. How would you use? Yeah. So bring new vocabulary to the sentence level. Try to move a bit further, not just study the words themselves, but also use them in the sentences, practice them in the sentences, and preparing some interesting activities like we have just discovered that help your students remember the whole words and be more confident when they speak. Now, choose now, just let's practice. Yeah, so I promise that today we will practice. We will practice just to create own tasks. So let's imagine that it's the night before the lesson and we want our students to say more sentences, to use the whole phrases. And we have all we have is just this set of 8 phrases, sentences. How would you expand these sentences? What new phrases can you add? Will it be a dialogue or just a follow-up statement or question? Just take a minute, think about 2 examples, and write to me in the comments how would you use, what would you do to help your students speak more about this situation. Here is an example from me. It's not a bad film, but I thought it was a bit overrated. The fact that this is an award-winning work was surprising. Yeah? So some new words for students and some other ideas how to make comments on some situations that we don't really like. So I have some ideas from you. Create a story including your vocabulary, make dialogue your point of view. Yeah, and now let's think about just one specific example. Again, you can use your notes and don't be shy, share with me. I will be interested to read some of your ideas. What follow-up sentence can you give in order to help your students learn more words and then practice these words in these pair games? Oh, he's a weird person. Sometimes it's hard to understand him. Yeah. However, he's my husband, for example. I love him. Okay, thank you very much, Natalia, for your contribution. Maybe some more. How would you, again, it's not just the task to write follow-up comment, but you can decide that here is better to prepare a dialogue. So how would another person react? Like, it was completely sold out. Yeah, really? I thought it wasn't so popular, for example. Fantastic night. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like a response to something. Good. Even though I usually don't watch such films, this one was really moving. Aha, so you prepared something before. Great. So you see, this exercise, even for us, it's not something very typical. Yeah, it's not what we are used to. It's not just gap filling activity, matching activity. It's something that we need that requires from us to use our previous knowledge, our experience, and be ready to make new content and some content that is really useful. Okay. Again, here we have follow-up comments for this exercise that we were looking at during all the webinar. You can take a print screen and then with your students try to match these follow-up comments. So that's their ideas. Mm-hmm. It helps students to understand the words more and have bigger practice. So as far as I can see, we are a bit running out of time, so very quickly. Do you remember when you wrote me association, lots of your association were personal? That what you were talking about and what I'm always talking about is it's very useful to add some personal meaning to all that we do in the classroom. Our students, like my memories from the school, are the most personal memories. Are examples from my teachers who gave some examples that touches what is really important to me. So again, when we do this with our students, we need to incorporate their own world, their own ideas. Oh, thank you. Why are you wearing this hat? It's boiling hot here. Thanks. Thanks, Larissa. Great idea. Okay. So again, here for this exercise, what does the book suggest? It suggests to express your point of view. So you use the word, you find some collocations, you understand all the words. Now it's time for personalization. Which of 8 mistakes above do you think is the most serious? Explain your ideas to a partner. What do you think? Will your students be eager to discuss this? As far as I can say from my students, it's really interesting for them to show their point of view, to say what they think, because they can have totally different points of view and totally different from mine. So it's very interesting. It can be great discussion with the use of new language. Again, personal touch. Prepare questions for students to answer using the new vocabulary. That's what some of you wrote to me at the beginning of the webinar. And here it is already done. You don't need to spend time on preparing something. Which things have you done to celebrate something from the list? For example, I don't go clubbing, but I usually have a small get-together with some friends. Yeah, that's true. And some so on and so forth. So don't forget to ask your students share their opinion, their experience, and their points of and their personal things. So principle number 5, add students' experience and world knowledge. It's like here in the picture, it's a really great hook for students to remember what we have during the lesson. On the next lesson, all you need to do is just to remember this example about something. Yeah, and students, oh yes, that's that very word. Now your homework for you is You chose some words like boiling hot. I saw overrated, weird. Think what follow-up questions you will ask to your students. Something that's really interesting, yeah, for them to think more, to share, to find some unexpected insights, maybe. It was completely sold out. Yeah, what presentation can you make in order to have all the tickets sold out, or all the copies sold out, something like that, or computer game probably, yeah. Was there any computer game that was completely sold out before you buy it? Or can you imagine this game? What type of game it can be? So all the examples were taken from Outcomes, second edition, a great book that focuses on the lexical approach and helps us make our students speak more, think more, and use the language, not just study it. You can find all the books, you can order them from Linguist Company. Here is the site. So feel free, you can read about this book a bit more. You will get in your follow-up email the link to the samples, so you can try this book with your students and see how it really how it works in order to become interesting for your students to speak about. Also, what are really great books if you're interested in topics, if you try to find some new and effective activities. So the first one is Vocabulary Metrics, interesting methodological book that gives us some theory and also practical examples. What can be done, how it can be done, what problems students have, what answers to these problems we can do. So after this book, you will have not totally, but more complete way of understanding the vocabulary and how it works inside our mind. And it really helps to build really engaging lessons. And the next one is Phrasal Verb Organizer, great book. It was a bestseller, so it really helps to use to remember these phrasal verbs in order that we were talking today about, that they are in the groups, like we store the words in our memory. The holidays are coming, but for us teachers, we never stop learning, we never stop getting inspired. So you have the great opportunity to have this course about teaching teens and get inspired for the new term. Wonderful teacher trainer Svetlana Drabatenko will provide you with simple, interesting, and effective tasks. You will understand how to build your lessons, how to engage teachers, and you can enter the new term with new knowledge and very interesting insights. As for me, have a look at these sentences, pictures, and tell me what you remember about the webinar. I think that now you can, in your notes, you can write down what you remember, what insights you have. You shared with me today really great, wonderful ideas. And so let's move on. Let's continue our professional development and our desire to find something new and effective for our students. Thank you very much for your participation. And now the surprise, you will get the feedback form after the webinar and in your follow-up email. Among those who fill in this feedback form, we will do a little raffle and you will be able to win one of a reader from National Geographic Learning. So when you exit the webinar, press the button, complete the feedback form, write your honest opinion, and next Monday, so you will have 4 days for this, next Monday after the holidays, we will raffle 3 readers from National Geographic Learning. Thank you very much. That was a pleasure to work with you today. Actually, that was the last event for this year, but for next year we are preparing lots of interesting activities, webinars, new board games, new demo lessons. So subscribe to our page, National Geographic Learning Ukraine. Follow us, and I'm waiting to meet you very soon. Now I wish you all have a happy holidays, have great rest, take a whole bunch of emotions, and just recall that we are not just teachers, we are human beings who need to have fun, who can have fun, and who can teach our students how to have fun. So happy holidays to everyone, and meet you in 2021. Goodbye.